Welcome to the Unboxing Behavior Podcast, the space where mental and behavioral health meets real life. I am your host, Edna, behavioral specialist and analyst, a certified recreational therapist and improvement scientist. I have years' experience of working in an acute behavioral health facility where I support individuals through some of their most challenging moments and help them build skills for recovery, resilience, and everyday living. On this podcast, we will explore mental and behavioral health topics through two powerful lenses, evidence-based approaches. The first one is cognitive behavioral therapy, or popularly known as CBT, and the second is dialectical behavioral therapy, known as DBT. CBT focuses on the connection between our thoughts, our feelings, and behaviors, and it helps us to recognize unhelpful thinking patterns and replace them with healthier and more effective patterns that we need. While DBT focuses on building skills for emotional regulation, distress tolerance, mindfulness, and interpersonal effectiveness, especially when emotions could be overwhelming and we need to take that check and break. So each episode on this podcast will translate these clinical tools that we're going to be talking about into practical strategies that you can use in your daily life, whether you're navigating stress, anxiety, mood challenges, or simply trying to better know or understand your emotional world. And we'll be drawing from both principles and also real life experiences. This podcast is here to offer insights, build skills, and hope. However, this podcast will not replace you seeing a professional, your therapist, or anyone that you need to see. And we'll be dealing with these topics one conversation at a time. So thanks for joining me, and let's get started with today's topic. So today, we are going to be talking about self-esteem. Yes, I know. A lot of people are saying, well, self-esteem is something that is out there. Everyone is talking about it. So why are you talking about it? Well, first and foremost, not every aspect of self-esteem has been talked about. So we're going to be talking about one small aspect that not everyone kind of sees or talk about, So that's what we're going to be talking about. And so to start off things today, we're going to come back and unbox self-esteem. Remember, that's why we are here, to unbox these behaviors, okay? So stay with me. Now, what is self-esteem? I don't want us to go with this big dictionary definitions and meanings of self-esteem. No, let's bring it home. Self-esteem, the word or phrase, it's two words in one, okay? We're going to unpack. Self, that's me, that's you, the individual, that's self. And esteem is that value, worth, or importance you place on you. Self-esteem is you placing some kind of value or importance or worth on you. I'll do that to me too, okay? So we are going to be talking about self-esteem in those lines. We're using that as our working definition, okay? Now, one thing I would like for you to also think about when we are talking about self-esteem is that it exists on a spectrum. Yes, self-esteem actually exists on a spectrum. On one end, we have the low. On the other end, we have like the elevated or the high. And somewhere in the middle, that midpoint, we have a balance, which we are going to term healthy self-esteem. That's where we want to be. It's a sweet spot. Now, I created something known as the Jack and Jill of self-esteem. It's like the seesaw. If it tips down, this goes up. If it comes this way, this goes up, that goes down. But we want to find that balance where it's kind of not tipped too low or too high, and we find that balance. Okay? So one question people will ask, if self-esteem is not a stagnated thing, what actually influences self-esteem? A lot of things does. For someone that is younger, growing up, their family background, the family structure, their belief system can influence their self-esteem. Let's give a small example here. For example, a young child that has this low self-esteem, and if we look back, it could be in the family structure, people always talk down on this child, and maybe there's a lot of body shaming and some kind of name calling, okay? That child might have low self-esteem. Yeah. For example, the child is in that house, maybe has something, I don't know what we want to call, but I don't want to. And people will use that in the family to shame them, shaming children with body parts and the way they were created or made. I mean, that will puncture a child's self-esteem. Now, culture and traditions too might puncture your self-esteem. If you have cultures and traditions that places a certain gender over the other gender and things like that might puncture someone's self-esteem. The society we live in general, other people's perceptions, biases, and leaders in general. You might have leaders like religious leaders, political leaders, professional leaders, academic leaders, just leaders in general can make or break your self-esteem. Peers, your peers, disability can also do that. Being disadvantaged can do that. Being oppressed, oppression, discrimination, your health can also reduce your self-esteem. Your level of education, your social status, life experiences, and traumatic experiences too. All of these can affect our self-esteem and kind of make it unhealthy. So the aspects of self-esteem we want to focus or zoom into today is, what does unhealthy self-esteem do to you? Take a moment and think about that. All right, let's go. We're going to be talking about that in a few areas of our life. Mentally, what does unhealthy self-esteem do to someone? The first thing I'm going to talk about is that mentally, if you have an unhealthy self-esteem, it will make you self-doubt. You are going to self-doubt. You are going to self-criticize. You will always criticize yourself because you feel, I'm not capable. I'm not able. You will have intense fear of failure. Oh yes, this can happen to anyone. It happened to me before I did this podcast. I had that intense fear that I might fail. And when we have intense fear of failure, that can lead us to just stop, not wanting to do what we want to do. So procrastination comes in. You're like, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. You're procrastinating. It can also lead to social withdrawal. You don't want to be within your social circle. You're like, I don't want to keep explaining. I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want people to know what's going on with me. So please, let me be. And you isolate socially. And this might begin to cause you anxiety. Because when you find yourself in the midst of people, you're like, I'm anxious. I don't want to be here. And also depression. People can withdraw from people around them, isolate, and become depressed. So mentally unhealthy self-esteem can do all of these things. Now, let's see another aspect, which is behavioral. Now, if you do have a low self-esteem, some things that will make you do is you become a passive person, a people pleaser. Your communication style is going to be passive. You are just going to be like that doormat that people just walk over all the time. But that may not be the case entirely. Sometimes unhealthy self-esteem can make people become aggressive. Yes, it can make them aggressive. And the reason is they will always be on a defensive mode to defend everything because they feel people are picking on them. People are saying things about them. So they're like dishing out these defensive bullets, everywhere, just to make sure that no one gets close to knowing what is going on. Another thing with our behavior when we have an unhealthy self-esteem is the fact that you will begin to avoid challenges. Yeah. Anything that you feel this is going to be a challenge for me, you are going to avoid it. You're like, I don't want that. But sometimes we need to let people know this is what is going on. This is what I think about things, And then one really big one is poor boundaries. They will have porous, that's what we call them, porous boundaries. You won't have boundaries at all. And that explains the reason for you being a doormat. People will just walk all over you. And unfortunately, people care less. If you don't put up certain boundaries, people don't care. They will walk all over you. Sometimes, too, unhealthy self-esteem behaviorally can cause you to become a perfectionist. You want to make sure that everything is in place. Nothing is left out because you have that fear that things might go wrong. And if things go wrong, you are not going to be happy. You're going to be ashamed of yourself. You're going to be embarrassed. So you want to make sure that everything is in place. And I'm not saying people shouldn't aspire to have things well done, but just becoming a perfectionist is another level. No one is even perfect, so I don't know where you're going to get that from. And sometimes it can also lead to you attaching yourself too much to people, or even isolating or withdrawing yourself away from people. And those things might even cause relationship issues. And then the other aspect we want to look at is physically. How does self-esteem affect you physically? Have you seen some people, when they walk into a room or they walk into a space, they're like this, or their shoulders are dropped. They don't have good eye contact. They're like bending down, or even when they're talking to you, they're like wanting to call into themselves. One of the reasons why people do that could be that unhealthy self-esteem. They have this resting face that is always sad. And that is why sometimes you hear people say, lift your head up high and walk. So the next thing we want to ask is, if we have identified these things that occur as a result of having an unhealthy self-esteem, how can we position self-esteem to be healthy for the most part? How can we achieve that? We can do a few things. Before we dive into that, I want to note that our thoughts, our emotions, and our behavior, they are all connected. Yes, they are. In fact, we can say they are connected in a loop, because your thoughts, what you think about, kind of push the emotions you feel, and those emotions you feel also drive your behavior. So we want to be careful. Based on that, we are going to be looking at a few things that we can do to help with balancing our self-esteem to that healthy spot that we are all looking for. There's something that is called distortions, common distortions in unhealthy self-esteem. It is the all or nothing thinking. And that simply means that it's either everything is wrong or nothing is working for me. That kind of thinking. So if we have that kind of thinking with CBT, we want to employ something we call challenging irrational thoughts or feelings. Challenging irrational thoughts or feelings. Yes. So what we will do with that is, when you keep saying, I am worthless, I am not of any importance, I have no value because I don't get things straight, I keep failing, I haven't achieved anything, you keep doing that. That's unhealthy. You want to challenge those thoughts. Stop. Pause. Challenge those thoughts. Why do you think you are worthless? Is it in every endeavor of your life that you have failed? Is it? Let's say you've been looking for jobs, you've never gotten anything. All the things that are coming are just like, we're sorry, we're sorry, we're sorry. Or it could be you are in school, you're trying to write, say, a professional exam, and you can't get it right. You have failed. So does that warrant that stamp of worthlessness on you? So you want to challenge that thought of, I can't be all worthless. I can't be all useless. There might be certain things that I know I can do well, better than other people. So you challenge those thoughts. And another way of also looking at things like when we fail, when we make mistakes, is asking that question after you have made a mistake. What can I learn from my mistake? What can I learn from this mistake right here, right now, so I can improve myself? Let's take, for instance, the Bright brothers. These are two brothers who tried to manufacture the very first airplane. Somewhere, when I was reading about the story, they said these brothers failed over 100 times. So many times that they just had to put a figure to it like, okay, 100 times they failed. But that didn't stop them. In as much as they failed so many times, it didn't stop them. They came back. Why did we fail at this time? They fixed that thing. They tried to fly this plane again. It didn't work. They came back. Why did it not work this time? What happened again? And they kept failing, learning from their failures, getting their mistakes corrected, and boom, we had an airplane one day that they were able to fly. Today, if these brothers were alive, they will marvel. Their jaws will drop at what people have done with that simple aircraft that they manufacture. Today, we have Airbuses. Yes, the Boeing big Airbuses with lots of things in it. So failure does not mean it is the end. Failure is not a sentence that it is the end. You are thinking, oh, I failed this exam. The feeling you begin to have is feeling of embarrassment, feeling of shame. Those are emotions. Yeah. And what can that drive you to do? The behavior will be, I want to withdraw from people. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to be with people. And that's the behavior. And that behavior can even lead to something more, anxiety or depression. So how are you helping? The next thing that we are going to be looking at is emotion regulation or emotional regulation. It's a skill. And that skill helps to identify your emotions. You will learn what emotion am I feeling. So you begin with that self-awareness that, okay, this event happened. I have this experience. Yeah, I have failed my exam. It's not pleasant. It's bitter. Failure is bitter. That's the truth. But I'm feeling bad about it. It's okay. 100% it's okay to feel bad about yourself, about things that happen. Feel those emotions. No one is saying don't feel them. It's okay. Now, you identify those emotions that are running through you. That is fine. Once you are able to identify those emotions, you are reducing something. You are reducing your vulnerability to a lot of things. For other people to come, maybe bully you, laugh at you, talk trash about you, because you are aware that, okay, I felt embarrassed and I felt shameful with not passing my exam. So I'm okay. What next can I do about it? Now you are getting yourself ready to learn from that experience. There might be a lot of things that you would learn from that failure. Go back to the drawing board and see what things you can fix, okay? And once you're able to do that, that will also enable you to not allow your feelings control your behavior. Because if your feelings are going to control your behavior, you won't want to learn from that experience. For example, let's say a group of kindergarten kids are in their class and the teacher, they did a class work and the teacher wrote something. Say the classwork was 2 plus 5. And she said, everybody work that math. And a lot of people did the math. And there was this kid who was so excited. The answer the teacher was looking for is 7. But he got somehow, and 2 plus 5 is 7. And he says 2 plus 5 is 10. Okay? Now the teacher comes and does the correction and says, no, it's 7. And he's like, I got 10. And the teacher explains that this is an addition. You add things together. And this kid thought the teacher was asking them to multiply, right? He felt, or he didn't really think of the sign in the arithmetic. He just did what he felt was it. But he failed. He failed. Now, if that child is consumed by the fact that he has failed, he feels embarrassed, he feels ashamed, when this teacher is trying to explain the process, he will not pay attention because he is consumed by what he is feeling, and his behavior will be defensive. I don't want to listen. And he might miss out on that very important explanation of it was addition, not multiplication. But if he can allow his feelings to be without controlling his behavior, if he listens, he's learning that, okay, I see where I was wrong. I see where I can improve. So that is one thing we all want to take away too. Sometimes we don't like people to criticize or correct us. We don't like people to talk about mistakes. We don't. And unfortunately, when we don't want people to help correcting us, we might do the same mistake all over again. And that is not good. So those are some of the things about unhealthy self-esteem. We have talked about it using CBT, and the CBT skill we used was challenging irrational thoughts, while the DBT skill we used was emotional regulation, regulating our emotions. Self-esteem does not mean you want to keep proving your worth every day, but actually knowing who you are and how to balance yourself on the spectrum. That's the most important thing. Knowing that things can come low, sometimes it goes up, but we want to constantly find that balance where we are at. Okay? So even if you are feeling somewhat low due to some of those factors that we mentioned before, know that there's nothing stagnant about your self-esteem. You can bring it up to that point where you can say it's healthy again. Okay? So we want to finish and round off with our guided reflection here. So what I want you guys to do, if you are able to, wherever you are, if you are able to do this, I want you to take a quiet moment to take a deep breath in with me and exhale slowly. Nice. Now remember that it took time to get to an unhealthy self-esteem. It will take time to build a healthier self-esteem. So give yourself some grace and work on yourself. I want to thank you so much for spending these minutes with me today. If you like this type of topic, kindly join me to unbox another behavioral topic. Until next time, I wish you peace in good health.